Dame is heading back home, baby. Give it up. Even if you're driving.
Don't say it. No, do not clap
No,
while you're driving.
especially
Portland, do not clap while you're driving, please.
If
Portland,
there's any time to clap while you're driving.
Portland, do not clap while you're driving. You might pull over to the side and clap if you have to. Do not
clap even if you're driving. Ladies and gentlemen, Damian Lillard is a Portland Trailblazer again. That feels right. It feels right saying that.
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
Knicks fan. You are a Net fan.
Yes, sir.
Fans across the association celebrating this. You know why? Because it feels right.
Yes, yeah.
It feels right. It feels right. Dame goes off on his own path and plays for the Milwaukee Bucks for 2 years. Doesn't go the way that he wanted it to. Doesn't go the way that the Bucks wanted it to. And he comes home on a 3-year deal. Drops his ShamWow, breaking 9-time NBA All-Star Damian Lillard is finalizing a 3-year, $42 million contract to return to the Portland Trailblazers, sources tell ESPN. The deal is expected to include a player option in 27-28 and a no-trade clause. We can get into like what this means for the roster. They have Drew Holiday. They have Scoot Henderson. I actually want to ask you about that. But for me, the whole thing about Damian Lillard and what I love about this story is that we talk so much about championships and we talk so much about legacy and narratives, and we don't do that here on the Dime. I don't know if y'all who are subscribed, like, we don't get into these like, who's your top 10? Who's your top 15? Would you take Devin Booker over Donovan Mitchell? Like, we don't do that. We just don't. That type of stuff to me is just like fodder. It's easy. It's BS. It's dumb. I think it's stupid. But a reason why I appreciate someone like Damian Lillard going back to Portland and finishing his career there, regardless if he gets a ring or not, to me, it just shows loyalty to a franchise, to a fan base that he cares about the fans, he cares about the city. You know, when you have that connection, especially a small market like Portland, that stuff matters.
Yes,
you know, it matters to the fans, it matters economically. You know what I mean? It matters to everything around the arena, to the city itself, to the brand of the Portland Trailblazers. It's something that it's why we watch sports, for instance. And for me, you know, you can say whatever you want about Damian Lillard as a player. You could say that he went ring chasing for 2 years and failed and came back. You can critique that all you want. But at the end of the day, this coming back cements his legacy as the best Portland Trailblazer of all time. I think he's going to go down as the best Portland Trailblazer of all time. He's going to come back. He's going to score more points. He's going to add to the records, to whatever records he holds already. He's going to catch the records that he hasn't caught already. He's going to go down as the best Portland Trailblazer of all time because he was a Blazer, if that makes any sense. You know, someone like Paul George kept moving. Someone like Kevin Durant kept moving. LeBron kept moving. Portland had Dame for, it's going to be a decade plus.
Yeah.
He was the brand. And I think that's something special. And to me, I'm not saying it means more than a championship. I'm not saying it means more than whatever. But it means something. And it means something different. And I don't think a lot of franchises have that, especially in these days and ages where you can just go wherever you want to go. You can demand a trade and get out. You know, it's very rare that a player has this type of connection with the city. And as a Knicks fan, as a Net fan, I'm sure you feel the same way. I think fans across the world, no matter what team you root for, you smile at this news. It's a great day to be a Portland Trailblazer fan, and honestly, it's a nice thing to see as an NBA fan.
Yeah, that's the right description. A nice thing. I think when I saw the notification, I was like, oh wow, okay, that's great. That's like my general reaction was like, okay, that's awesome. Like him dealing with the Achilles injury and being able to be home to rehab and I guess be closer to his family, which was very important to him. I think it was one of the reasons it's been stated it led to the breakup between him and the Bucks. But being able to be close to his family while he's recovering, it's perfect. It sounds perfect. We know, like, we didn't really, the breakup between him and Portland it felt awkward from both sides, but something that, like, when it came time to happen, we're like, it felt like it was the time for it to happen, but we didn't necessarily like how it went down. He wanted to go to Miami. They sent him to Milwaukee, and so now he's going back home. Like, I understand that. I wouldn't want to. I'm joking. I'm kidding. Miami's out. I've been to Miami. It's crazy out there. But very, very happy for Dame just to end back where he started. Like you said, he's basically been Mr. Blazer for all these years. All his memorable moments have come in the Portland uniform. Like he's had a lot of crazy, like top moments, basketball moments in general that will go down in like history, NBA history that he did for Portland. Um, the 2 years he had at Milwaukee didn't go as planned. Like it just didn't go, and that happens. That's it's part of the story. Like injuries,
Roster
trades,
construction, coaches,
Doc,
coaching
Doc
changes,
Rivers, like it's just
Darvin. I
you
mean,
know
there's
what I
a
mean.
lot of reasons why. You can point to a lot of reasons why for
I
sure.
mean, yeah, I don't like. I'm not trying to pass, but like again, it just didn't. It just didn't work out, and sometimes that happens. Um, and it was. I know for a lot of fans who are just fans of basketball, not just fans of Dame, seeing him go down with the Achilles injury, we're just like, damn, this sucks.
Yeah.
So him having the opportunity just to go back home, I think the most important thing from the signing that we saw was like it being I think 3 years,
Yeah.
but he has a no he has a no trade clause. So basically, it makes it feel like this is where he wants to be,
Yeah.
and if at any time there's like any other decision, is going to be in his hands.
Yeah.
But it feels like this is probably where he's gonna just end up riding it out for the rest of his playing seasons, which is I think is awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, at the end of the day, like you got to be happy as a human
Yeah,
being. Like, and I know we talk a lot about championships, we talk a lot about winning, but if you're not happy where you're at, there's no point in being where you're at if as a human. Like, it just is what it is. And I wouldn't say was publicly known to be unhappy in Milwaukee, but there were reports about him, not being happy in Milwaukee. Let's just say what it is. He loved Portland. He was away from his family. I know he went through a divorce, which is something personal I'm not going to get into, but that's part of his life. And you move across the country. Well, not across. You move halfway through the country, and you're in this unfamiliar place. You kind of get traded in a way where it was like I didn't even want to leave in the first place, but I feel like I have to. Just that mentality and that mental mindset he must have been in probably was really hard for him.
yeah,
And it was hard for Blazer fans too. I mean, once Dame left, I used to talk Blazers all the time on the dime. Since you've joined the show, when have we talked Blazers?
yeah.
we,
It's been yeah. It's not
we
it's
ripped
been a lot
Chauncey
of
Billups once last year,
yeah,
and that was
yeah,
it. And that
yeah.
was it. And now I'm obsessed with Yang Hansen, so you're gonna see it all the time.
Yang.
But yeah,
uh,
so to me, man, again, like this is what I love about sports, and this is what I wish more people would talk about when it comes to sports. I know debate culture is a thing. I'm not saying it doesn't have any value. It doesn't have its place in sports talk, and in the rhetoric surrounding sports talk. But I do wish that we would appreciate players like Damian Lillard more, where it's just kind of like, yeah, he was a Portland Trailblazer his whole life. Yeah, maybe he didn't have the roster to win a championship. Yes, maybe he went ring chasing for 2 years, but he came back to the city. He came back to the fan base that loved him, that adored him. And he's going to finish out his career there, hopefully,
yeah,
because that's what just feels right. It's
yeah,
not always about winning. It isn't. I mean, at the end of the day, you want your favorite team to win. Of course, I'm not saying that, but there are other things to appreciate, you know, about the game than winning. And in a league, in a moment, and in a league right now where there's so much player movement, like like again, I mentioned KD and Paul George, and I don't say that to like pick on them. Even like a Russell Westbrook or a Chris Paul, like all these players are just team hot, like just trying to find a scenario where they can win a ring, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting, and then they kind of lose. Like Chris Paul, when I think of Chris Paul, I think of the Clippers, but it's like he doesn't feel. He doesn't feel like what Stockton was to the Jazz, or what Malone was to the Jazz, what Ewing was to the Knicks, or what Barkley was to the Suns, or what Jordan was to the Bulls. Like there's none of that anymore, and it feels good that we could say that about some players at least still. And I think Dame is one of those players, even though he went to Milwaukee for 2 years. I just kind of miss that era. I just miss that era.
yeah. The era of the player just staying in one jersey the whole time. Yeah, we're way past that. We've been way past
Yeah,
that for a while. It's kind of crazy to think about, but yeah, like even though he was on Milwaukee for 2 years, I just remember I'd be watching games. I'm like, that doesn't look right.
no,
Watching it's the same. It's kind of it's kind of similar to like um now when I see like anytime I see Luke in a Lakers jersey, I'm
yeah,
like,
it feels. Yeah, I mean, even Luca got traded, bro. Like, and a
I'm
lot
just
of
like
time it's
doesn't
not even like the players who are doing. Like with Luca, he
yeah.
got traded. It's like,
Yeah. So I mean player movement happens a lot. Like I'm never and you're the same way about this. We don't really knock players for like making moves to make themselves happy or like
yeah,
try to win. We don't knock it. We're like if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Like it's player empowerment and it's important. Like go to where you feel comfortable. Go to where you feel wanted. It's important. I think a lot of fans do crave the player they kind of that was drafted and stayed in the same jersey and ends up retiring in the same jersey. Like fans do crave that, but in this era of player empowerment and player movement, like it doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Dame going back to the Blazers is it just feels like a really great story. But also comes with a bunch of questions. We'll say.
Yes.
Now, the main thing I see a lot of people. I saw somebody was like, "Oh, what happens with Scoot now since Dame is there?" And somebody replied, I guess he has to scoot over. I laughed. Um, it was so I laughed, but um, right now I personally don't think it's that big of a deal as some people are making out to be because Dame is coming back from an Achilles. Like
Yeah.
he's not going to play all of
He's not playing at all
this
this year.
upcoming
So
season.
Scoot's going to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Scoot's going to be there. So you're trying to see how well Scoot is going to look as the lead guard in this new position, especially after the trading away Anthony Simons and bringing in Drew Holiday.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Drew's
Um,
probably going to start at that position.
that's the other question that I kind of saw. I see the other people like mention is like, does this mean this might lead to a Drew buyout because Drew necessarily didn't want to go to Portland again. Like
Yeah.
that's been something he's been kind of clear about. I don't know if there's been discussions in the background with Chauncey Billups and all that to kind of change that mindset, but he doesn't. The first thing when the trade initially happened, the thing that was out there was that he doesn't initially want to go to Portland. If this ends up being hypothetically being like a Drew Holiday buyout, I don't know where he ends up. I saw was it Bias Houston say Will say that like yeah he has a team that he could play for wanted him to come to Houston, and I was like, bro, that's when I
Houston,
saw that I'm like, that's
Will,
the
love you.
greed they
Will,
talk
love you.
about. That's
Love
the
you.
greed.
Yeah. Will, you had a great offseason.
That's the greed.
Relax. Will, you can't get everybody, Will.
That's the greed. You can't get everybody, bro. You have a great like relax. That's the
Yeah.
greed they talk about, man.
Yeah.
That's yeah, but yeah, I don't necessarily when it comes to Scoot right now. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I feel like I said, it's gonna be the ball's gonna be in Scoot's hands this season. He's gonna get a chance to step up. We don't know what happens with Dame if he's gonna come back, and him necessarily coming back is gonna coming back from and this is me speaking from personal experience. Coming back from an Achilles injury, you're not the same player. There's stuff you have to learn to adapt. I remember even KD mentioned it was like those like players like Dame and Jason Tatum, some of the shots they take, those long shots they take right now off their main foot, they have to adjust because your leg doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So Dame's gonna have to change up his game a little bit. And throughout this process, if you have a guard in place that can still like kind of carry the torch for you in the future, it's good to have. So I feel like it's gonna be a slow process, gradual process, and we'll see what it looks like when Dame is healthy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Scoot here. The Blazers are an interesting team right now because they have two timelines. Really, with Drew Holiday, you have Advia. Advia's young. They did ship out DeAndre Ayton. Who else is on their team? Jeremy Grant's on the team.
Shaden Sharp.
Shaden Sharp is a young guy. I
Yeah.
might want to take this take back.
Tamani Kamari.
All right,
You got
yeah. All right,
yeah.
I'll come back in.
Yeah.
I mean, the Blazers are an interesting team because they're clearly building a defensive identity. Like, that's what they're trying to be. I think if you watch the moves that they're making, the people that they're picking up, they're trying to, like, create this tough defensive identity. And I think it's going to work. I think they are going to be a very good defensive team. They were very competitive at the second half of the year. Obviously, Dame does not fit that description whatsoever. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in next year. Scoot, I'll be honest with you, Kwab, I don't know if this spells the end for his tenure as a Portland Trailblazer, but you have two different timelines now with that position, right? You have Drew Holiday, you have Scoot, and then when Dame gets back, if Drew's still around, you have Drew Holiday, you have Scoot, and you have Damian Lillard. How do you divvy up those minutes, and how do you expect Scoot to develop? You know, Scoot is the second pick of the NBA draft. This isn't somebody who, was late first round, second round, or someone who you just got from the team. This is a guy you heavily invested in, who you had a lot of belief in, and who has, he's had his rough moments, but he's gotten better, I think, just not to the number 2 level that you wanted to get at. I think they're going to have to make a decision with Scoot. I don't know if it's going to be this year, but I do think Scoot is playing for his Portland Trailblazers career this year. I do.
That's
I don't
crazy.
think any moves will be made this year. I don't think he'll be traded by the deadline, but that rookie contract extension is going to be due soon, and I think that if he doesn't take a significant leap this year, I think he's gone. I do. At some point
At some point.
before the extension,
Okay.
100%.
I can see them just giving him the extension and then figuring it out like along the way. Just give him the extension and
That's
then
what teams do
see.
now anyway. They get
Yeah.
you get paid and then you get traded anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like you just because it's with how the CBA is with the aprons and all that, you
Yeah.
might, especially you want to keep your players in house, especially with the bird rights. I'm throwing out these terms like I know exactly what I'm talking about. You see that?
Wait, is he due for an
But
extension? I think he might be due for an extension this year.
it might be.
But go ahead.
It
Go
might
ahead.
be.
Say what you were saying. I'll look it up.
But yeah, it's like he might sign the extension and then you figure it out as Dame gets healthy. I feel like the point you made, they are building like they had a defensive team last year and they've adding Drew Holiday adds to that. Like
Yeah.
we talked about the roster when we were talking about Hanson Yang before on the previous episode. And it's like you look up and down the roster, you have players like Tamani, Matisse Thybulle,
Yeah.
Donovan Clingan, like even I know he's not the same player he used to be, but even Jeremy Grant. You have these players that are defensive are defensive players that have defensive reputations.
Yeah.
And then you add Drew Holiday in that mold. Like it might feel like they have two timelines, but they have an interesting mix of players, like a very interesting mix of players, and it's going to be an interesting year for Portland. Like actually, not even interesting, a couple interesting years because we're gonna see what next year looks like with the new young additions, and also when Dame finally comes back the next year, we're gonna see what they decide with that.
So Scoot does have a year after this year, but has a club option after this year. So
Got you.
we'll see what happens there. All right. Well, listen, Dame is back in Portland. We just wanted to give a shout out to the Portland Trailblazers fans. Damian Lillard feels right. I mean, it feels right again for like a day. And then tomorrow, LeBron James gets traded to Charlotte, and we're like, what's going on?
Whoa.
Culture, Kwab. Culture.
Culture.
Listen, you can follow us everywhere at the Dime NBA. I'm Josh Rodriguez at Josh_Rodriguez_. He's Kwab at Kwab at KES. Hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 3K, baby. We do some game recaps if you haven't been familiar with our channel. Big games, we go immediately after them. We recap them for you. Power rankings, all that good stuff, and full episodes. So stay tuned for that. Until then, we'll see you for another episode of The Dime. Peace.